हेलो दोस्तों, स्वागत है आप सभी का हमारे चैनल इग्नो सेंटर पर। तो दोस्तों, आज का जो हम सॉल्व असाइनमेंट डील करने जा रहे हैं वो आपका MG06 का क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 और क्वेश्चन नंबर 5 रहेगा। क्वेश्चन नंबर 1, 2 और 3 हमने पार्ट 1 और पार्ट 2 में डील कर लिया है। तो दोस्तों, आज का जो क्वेश्चन रहेगा वो आपका क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 और 5 रहेगा। जो क्वेश्चन है वो आपको हम अभी पढ़ के सुना देंगे, जो हम अब डील करने जा रहे हैं। तो दोस्तों, क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 है आपका, डिस्कस द स्कारलेट लेटर एज अ रोमांस नोवेल। एंड नंबर 5, हाउ इज़ नेचर प्रेजेंट इन वाइट मैन पोट्री डिस्कस। तो दोस्तों, ये दो क्वेश्चन से आज हम जो डिस्कस करने जा रहे हैं। तो दोस्तों, इसका जो सॉल्व असाइनमेंट है वो इधर है। आपको हमने जो सॉल्व असाइनमेंट का क्वेश्चन है 1, 2 और 3 वो डील कर लिया है आगे ही, और अब जो हम डील करने जा रहे हैं वो आपका क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 रहेगा। तो दोस्तों, क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 हम अब स्टार्ट करने जा रहे हैं। तो दोस्तों, आपका जो क्वेश्चन नंबर 4 था वो था, डिस्कस द स्कारलेट लेटर एज अ रोमांस नोवेल। और इसका आंसर रहेगा, दे आर 3 इम्पोर्टेंट कैरेक्टर इन द स्टोरी। देयर इज एस्टर प्रिनी, accused of adultery, who is made to stand at the scaffold of the pillory along with her child. The letter A in scarlet signified an adulteress in fix on her bosom, and the man and woman of Boston who stand around her look at her with contempt. The story unfolds in the mid-17th century Boston in New England. The people of New England by choice were Puritans. They could not forgive Hester for her adultery. They considered her as a fallen woman. The punishment in those days for this crime was death itself. Even though Hawthorne was born and brought up in utopian Puritan atmosphere, he did not fully accept and agree with the stringent dealing of the infraction and violation of nature. Humans feel like falling in love. This indicates that Hawthorne desired to end the story with love triumphed over various obstacles. The Scarlet Letter brings to sharp focus Hawthorne's boldness in beginning a romance novel among the community which existed in New England at that period. His narrative shows a strong dislike toward the Puritans. It makes the reader to support and approve of the action of Hester and Pearl. The priest demonstrates sympathy and defends Hester's right to bring up the child. This is evident from the scene in the governor's house. The nature human argue to fall in love is very clearly defended and supported in the narrative. The story was able to bind the opposing and conflicting outlook. While for Dimmesdale the sexual relationship between Hester and the priest was a sin, for Hester what we did had a consecration of its own. One can look at the tale as a tussle between sin and redemption. One can also look at it as a love story and a romance. The scaffold scenes depict the sin and redemption drama, and the forest scene are poetic and joyous, indicating love in the air. The next is synthesis of opposing and conflicting concern. Commenting on this ambiguity, Scaven Biskowitz say it entails a sustained open-ended tension between fundamentally conflicting outlooks. Even to the Puritans of Boston, the Scarlet Letter ceases to be a badge of sin and redemption and become holy as a cross on a non-bosom. The people in Boston who were inimical to Hester aggressive sentence against Puritan outlook, eventually accept her as a holy nun. In Hawthorne's romance The Scarlet Letter, love definitely triumphs over several obstacles. So friends, till here our question number 4 was also completed, and now we begin with our question number 5, which is how is nature presented in Whiteman's poetry discuss. Whiteman refers to the reader and involves him in all his experience. Wordsworth has a tone of melancholy and brooding as a loner who is observing the scenes from a distance. Wordsworth is called a nature poet of his innate ability to describe and be one with nature. His observation of the town and the lonely girl with a sickly or nature itself in picturesque and static, though there are traces of similarities between Wordsworth's love of nature and Whiteman's depiction of nature. There are two different interpretations comparing the solitary nature of Wordsworth to that of conversational tone of Whiteman sounds superior in Song of Myself. He asks his reader, have you reckoned 1,000 acres much? Have you reckoned the earth much? In other words, unless the reader is able to respond to the sheer diversity and glory of earth, he would not be able to grasp the full meaning of the text. In when Lilaca's last is in the dooryard bloomed, Whiteman bring out the awareness of the return of the spring, while on the subject of death and mourning, gloom and death are juxtaposed with spring and life. The nature is in full bloom when the corpse is lying in the coffin. He depicts nature as being in two moods of mourning and being in the process of awakening and rebirth. The poem has a vast storehouse of description of things in nature, starting with the rustling of the green leaves, the silence of dried leaves, and thrushes singing somewhere in the swamp. The gorgeous looking sinking sun, the green and resplendent grasses. He succeeds in capturing nature in its essence, the unbreakable unity of the song of the thrush, the dropping Venus, and the lilac in his hand is projected in section 13 of the poem in the following lines. Sing on, you grey bird, sing from the swamps, the rushes pour your chant from the bushes. There are enchanting descriptions of the scenery of his land with its lake and forest, farms and fields, wind and storm. He described that land where man and woman toil and extract the bounty of nature. A Passage to India is a very different poem which portrays the poet's belief in globalization. Do not much scope for description of nature as in his other poem he brings a wealth of description of the strange landscape, the pure sky and the sand around the channel. He described the vast land in the New World and Asia and Europe. He pictured for us the vivid image of the locomotive rushing and roaring, the temples dedicated to the sun. Lofty towers and towers are towers as red as roses. He described also the glimpse of mountain, the Wind River, the Wa- Wasatch Mountain, Movement Mountain, and the Eagle Nest. He passes the entire continent. The journey is more than a physical one. It was through the eyes of the poet we see nature and its bounty. The land of the Indus and Gangas had stimulated the imagination of the poem so much that we can see that he refers to India as the wildest of the earth land. So friend, till here our answer was completed and we completed our MEG 06 solve assignment, all questions. And if you feel you have get helpful from this video, so don't don't forget to press the bell icon and keep a thumbs on the video and make comments so that we will upgrade if we need to upgrade on the video which we have to make again. So दोस्तों सब्सक्राइब करें हमारे चैनल को, और अगर आपको वीडियो अच्छा लगा तो कमेंट करें, और कमेंट करके हमको मदद करें कि कमेंट में हम इस पर क्या इम्प्रूव कर सकते हैं। धन्यवाद।